This is Bindu. I'm the owner of Crafty Meraki. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I am here today to share an amazing hop with inspiration for our brand new release, Meraki Harmony. I hope you're hopping along. I hope you're enjoying the inspiration, and I hope you're enjoying the hop and the giveaway as well. I'm going to be sharing a fun card with you today using the Feathered Friends stencil set. And this is going to be a very long episode, but I surely do hope you get value out of it. I hope you enjoy the tips and tricks that I'm sharing along the way. I hope you like my finished card as well. Without further ado, this is the card we're going to be making today. And I hope you enjoy and come back here to enter the raffle. All the giveaway details are in the description box below. See you soon. Okay, for today's video, I am using this coordinating suite. It's called the Feathered Friends, which is also part of the brand new release this week. So this is the Feathered Friends press plate, the coordinating die, and there's also a matching stamp set with these cute sentiments on as part of the stamp set. So I'm not going to be using the stamp today. I may be using the press plate and the die, but my biggest intention for today is to demo how to use this stencil set. So this is what the finished, one of the examples anyway, depending on the colors you choose, this is what the finished image would look like. And I want to do a demo of this stencil set today because this stencil, it works a little bit differently. It's designed slightly differently. There are 7 stencils in this set, I believe. Yes, there are 7. There are 7 stencils in this set, but if you look closely, there are numbers along with some squares on each of these stencils. So the reason I want to do a demo is because I want to show you how easy it is to use these stencils, and especially how to line up using these square marks. Basically, they're used for aligning. So I just want to do a quick demo for you today. This one, like I said, has 7 layers, and each number has a coordinating square. And as I walk you through the coloring, I'll share how to line up and the best practices, tips, tricks, and all sorts of great things. So I already have my layer number 1 taped to my grid mat, or in this case, I'm using the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. I have my card base, or in this case, I'm using I cut a 8.5 by 11 Nina Solar white cardstock into half, and I'm just using the 1/2 of it. I am going to, my card base is already attached to the grid mat, and I have some tape here. Here, I'm going to use another piece of tape, and I'm going to actually line up the stencil, and I'm going to basically line up right here at the top of this. If you notice, there's a line going straight across, and I'm just going to line up the stencil here. And because this is layer number 1, I'm just going to put it in place, and I'm going to tape it. Next, I'm going to take, in this case, these are the branches. The layer number 1 is for the branches. I'm going to use antique linen distress ink, and I'm going to give it some ink right kind of, there's no, I'm going to go light-handed because this is the base layer. I'm going to go light-handed, and I am going to make sure, oops, I need to add some more tape. And I'm going to make sure there is tape in place so this stencil does not move. Okay, so I'm using Distress Ink Antique Linen, and as I said, I'm going to make sure to just give it a very light wash, almost like if you're familiar with the watercolor terminology. But anyway, I'm just using antique linen, just going to give it a very quick light wash just to give it some outline. And then the next layer, I'm going to use Rusty Hinge. Those were the only browns I had in my stash, believe it or not. So I'm going to use Antique Linen first, and then I'm going to use Rusty Hinge as the second layer to give it some more shading. Okay, so Antique Linen is good to go. Now I'm going to simply take the tape off of this. And actually, before I do, I forgot about this, but before I do, I want to, the square that's over here, the square, the number 1 and the square, I'm just going to give it a light wash as well. So I'm actually ink blending through the square, and you'll see why here in just a second. It doesn't matter if you go over the number 1 or not. You can tape over it if it bothers you, but in this case, it's important for us to get the color through the square. So I am going to get this off. Let me get the tape off on this side as well. And let me just peel this off here. Okay, so we got layer number 1 off. Layer number 2, again, they all have the matching squares to help you align. I'm going to get my Antique Linen out. Now you see why I have the number, I had the number 1. I had the square that goes with the number 1 kind of lined up. In this case, the other way to line up is also because you remember I had it lined up with this grid mark over here. So I had it start at the top there. My paper isn't moving, the card base, only my stencils are moving. But in this case, we have both. As we keep building the layers, we will only have to use the square. It's basically the only thing that's going to help us line up. In this case, because this is all layer 1 and layer 2, they only have this one piece or one branch image. We are going to use the square. So you can cover this up now. The first layer is the only one that you want to have the square marked. You could even take a pencil and kind of mark the square so that you can use that for lining up. After you do 1, you don't need to do that anymore. So now I have it lined up exactly in place. I have the branches all aligned and they look great. So now I'm just going to take, I'm using Rusty Hinge, as I said. I'm just going to take Rusty Hinge and I'm going to go over the same spots. I'm trying to get brown for my tree branches. So I'm going to go over the same spots with Rusty Hinge, and I'm just going to give it a light wash again. This is basically the layer number 2, and that's all for branches. We don't need any more branches or browns, so you can go with this one as dark as you would like. We already have the light layer. When ink blending, the biggest thing to remember is start very, very light and build up color, because you can always add more color, but you can't take it off. So I am adding a lot of color here for the brown because, like I said, this is my darkest brown layer there is for the branches, and I want to show a nice separation between the base that I did and then this one. So I'm going to do that. And now let's take a look at what we have so far. So here I'm going to peel off one side of the stencil. This is another trick. Peel off just the one side of the stencil, because now the other side is going to act as your hinge. And look, now you can actually see the color. Hopefully it's clear on the camera as well, but you can see the antique linen is still pretty light, but the dark shade that I just used, the Rusty Hinge, it's giving me nice separation here. So I am pretty happy with this the way it is. So I'm going to take this off as well, take off layer number 2 as well, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. But the beauty of this layering stencil is if you, let's say, don't like how light the layer number 1 is, you can always go back, you can line it up, and you can add another layer of antique linen if you'd like. But in my case, I'm pretty okay with it. I don't think I need to add any more. The challenge is to know when to stop, right? So in my case, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm not going to touch those layers, the browns anymore. Now I'm going to move on to layer number 3. Once again, layer number 3 is also just all together. So we can still use either the grid mark here or we can use the square. And if you want to keep it simple, by all means, just use the square, just use one method because we are going to need the square as we keep building the layers. So I'm going to tape it in place and I am going to grab my green. I have all the colors except for the green. I have to grab my green here really quick. Give me a second. I am going to do fresh pear, maybe grassy knoll. So I have both my colors, fresh pear, grassy knoll. And I am going to grab my green brush. I've got some brand new brushes here today. Okay, so I am going to have, I'm going to try just going with the, so this one's fresh pear and this one's grassy knoll. I am going to just use a light hand and give it a nice light wash for the leaves as well. So like I said, the trick is to just kind of have a very light hand for the base and then build up the color as you go along. So instead of using like 2 shades, I'm just going to use this one shade of ink. And all I'm doing here is, actually, I forgot to show you this trick. So I'm going to tap off the excess here. And all I'm doing here is just with a very, very light hand, I'm just making really beautiful ink transfer through the stencil. So I have pretty much a good even coverage, I think. I'm going to give it one more light wash, one more round. So I'm doing this pretty much in real time because I don't want you to miss any of the layering or the coloring and the depth that I'm working to build. All right, so here, I'm going to give it a little bit more pressure. I don't have a lot of ink on my brush, and this is a brand new brush. So even though it looks like I'm pushing down hard, I am not actually getting a lot of ink transfer because this is a new brush. If it's a brush that you've already been using for a long time, you are going to have some residual pigment that stays in the brush and that will transfer, pigment or ink, whichever dye-based, whichever you're using. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick peek because I think I have a really beautiful light wash. Yeah, I think that looks really amazing. So I think I'm going to stop here and I'm going to peel this off, this stencil as well. I am going to move on now to number 4. Again, number 4 is also all leaves, but you can use the square to line it up. So I'm going to get this lined up and I'm going to get this one lined up as well. So this is the last layer for the leaves. Let me show you the example. So if you notice, there's only 2 layers, a lighter one and a darker one for the leaves as well. So there's 2 layers for the branches, 2 for the leaves, and then the rest will be all to build up the layers in the birds. So I am going to use now the same green color, and I'm using these ink stands by the ink stand that Brianne Loveland and her husband make. Oh my goodness, God send. What a small business shout out. What an amazing creation. So I'm going to use the same ink. I did not deviate. I'm still using the Grassy Knoll by Pink Fresh. And I am now going to give it a lot more pigment because I am now trying to get a lot of depth. I'm trying to build a lot of depth for this layer. So because these are the this is the second and the last layer for the leaves. I am going to go heavy-handed on this one. All right, shouldn't take much. It should be pretty easy to build up because we've already got a light wash going. All right. So by the way, we are hopping along today while I'm doing the ink blending. We're hopping along today with a bunch of friends to celebrate the new release. There's lots of prizes to be given away. I'm excited to be giving away these prizes to celebrate the new release. All the details are in the description below, so make sure you hop along, catch all the inspiration, and let me know in the comments what you think about this particular style of stencil. I know it's a little bit different. I personally have not done this style where you have so many layers you're trying to build, but rather than give you 20 layers of the stencil, we are trying to make it or keep it still rather economical, but also give you lots of depth. So this would have otherwise been 13 layers of stencils. Now, the reason why we have these squares, as you can see, this one has 4 squares in one layer. So the reason why we're giving you these layers all in one and the squares to align them is because this way you can still build the depth, but you don't need to use 13 stencils either. Okay, so next up is stencil number 5, and in this case I'm actually going to line up with the square, and this is why I was telling you that it's important for you to have the square marked in round number 1. And here I'm gonna make sure that my stencil is flush, and that's why I'm using, even though I have a grid mat, I'm still using the Wendy Wecky Make Art Station because I can't have enough grids. I just need to make sure that I'm lining it up properly, and I'm OCD like that. So I'm gonna tape this up. I also want to use some more tape, actually. I was looking for my paper tape, but never mind, I've got this one. I want to cover up on top over here because I don't want to accidentally get ink where I don't want it to be. And that's why I want to cover this up with the tape, and that way hopefully I won't get any ink transferred where I don't want it. Now I am actually, this is like sort of like my old formula, but I'm actually going to use these 3 colors, and we're going to make some rainbow birds today. Yeah, old formula, but I don't know. Are you complaining? Who doesn't like rainbows? So I'm going to use a yellow, cyan, and a pink, and we're going to build our rainbow from this. So yellow, I'm using Sunshine, turquoise, and I'm actually, these 2 colors are kind of new to me, Peony, turquoise, and Sunshine. So we're going to see how this works out. Hopefully it'll all work out for the best. Another trick that I want to show you here is you could use a, where did my extra paper go? You could use either a printer paper or a cardstock. You could use another extra sheet of paper to cover it up like that so that you don't accidentally get ink where it doesn't need to go. As a matter of fact, I am going to use this because even though I got tape covered up here, I have a lot more area and I don't want to accidentally cover up that area. So I'm going to use this paper here. I'm going to get my pink, yellow, and turquoise. So I am going to start with a yellow. Yellow first always, because we don't want to get any cross-contamination in the yellow ink. We want to start with yellow and then build up. So I'm going to start with yellow. And I'm also actually probably a good idea to have another paper right there covering this up. Now you could also use acetate to cover up both the rest of the area so you don't get accidentally ink transferred where you don't want it to be. So you could use acetate, you could use paper like I am. It doesn't really matter. So, okay, so I'm gonna get some yellow going at the top. And this is the bird. So I'm gonna get some yellow going at the top. Then I'm gonna get some of the turquoise going in the middle. So let's get the turquoise going here. That's sunshine and that's peony. So turquoise in the middle. And I'm gonna add pink at the very tail end. All right, so this one is peony. And I'm gonna add peony again at the tail end. So we are still working to build our bird or birds, the feathered friends, both the feathered friends. We're working to build color for them. So I am ink blending those. And now we're gonna move on. I am going to use the same 3 colors. So now we're gonna move on to layer number 6. We are gonna ink blend, but because we're gonna die cut, I'm actually not gonna go through making an entire card today, more than likely. We'll see. If time permits, I will make a card, but my goal is for you to see how easy it is to line up and use this stencil. So we did layer number 5. Now we're gonna follow the same steps. We're gonna line up the square here, and we're gonna use, again, I'm making sure my stencil is flush at the bottom. I am gonna use, or I'm gonna actually tape this up. And I'm gonna tape up this side as well. And I am going to bring back my trusty papers so that I don't get color with it. See, this one's pretty close actually. I don't know if you can see, but there's an opening there. So I don't want to get ink over there. I'm going to cover it up the best I can. Actually, there we go. So I'm going to get the yellow out again, and I'm going to go give it a little bit more. We're trying to build layers, build layers, build layers. So I'm going to get yellow on, then we're going to go to turquoise. And we're adding color. Probably should have used detailed blending brushes. I can't talk. Detailed blending brushes for this because it's so tiny, but hindsight. Okay, so I'm doing the last layer, which is the pink, and you see I'm getting some cross-contamination on the brush, but we'll just leave that with the pink, and I am gonna move on after this. So we've got our layer 5, layer 6. We're gonna go to 7 next. All right, so we're gonna slightly move this up and layer up that square once again. And now I can actually line up the stencil at the top. So I'm gonna get this back in place, and I am going to tape it in place. And now I can get back to, so now I'm working on, I've done the layer number, this is actually technically 5, but on this stencil, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is 3. So I've done 1 and 2, or 5 and 6 layers. Now I'm going to go to the layer number 7. Okay, so I am going to go again with the same order that we did before. So I'm going to do, actually, before I do that, I am going to wipe the stencil a little bit so I don't get the color They're so close to each other. So I'm going to wipe the stencil off because I have a lot of pigment. Be very careful before you line up. You should probably do this so that you don't get the color accidentally on the paper. I'm just going to really gently pull off the ink. Okay, so perks of doing this real time. It's almost like I'm live and I'm like making all these mistakes and you're watching me and you know what not to do now, right? Okay, so I'm going to do the yellows now. I got the ink, the excess ink off. I'm going to do a little bit of yellow on top. Again, I'm going to go light-handed because I don't want to, this is the layer that is, we're going to build this up. We're going to add a little bit more depth to this. So I'm going to add yellow. So my goal is to make a rainbow bird. I was looking for inspiration actually, and this is how it came to be. I was looking for pictures on the internet and look at that amazing rainbow bird. I was like, oh my God, I have to make this. I think there are a lot more. So see how that one is also very pretty. There are a lot more, but I think mine is going to look a lot different from any of these because I am going rogue. But this was my inspiration image. I just looked up watercolor birds and that's what I got. So that's what I'm using for inspiration today. I don't know what you guys use. Let me know in the comments. What do you guys use for inspiration? Like, I have Sarah Renee Clark cubes as well that I sometimes use, but every time I pull those out, I don't know if I'm alone. I'm probably alone in this, but every time I pull those out, it's like a rabbit hole. I go deeper and deeper and deeper and I never come out. Like I get lost so easily with those cubes. I really do. And I end up like, oh my God, this is too complicated. I'm going to go back to my, trusty 3 colors and that's it. I'm going to call it a day. I don't want to do any more. I don't want to have any more colors. I don't know. It's probably just me, like I said, but that's how I always end up going to the internet, finding inspiration, and I come back to the same 3 colors. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. Okay, so I finished my layer number 7. I'm going to move on to layer number 8. And again, all I'm doing is simply sliding the stencil to the top. And as you can see, you can already see that it's lining up pretty nicely. The square, our trusty square, we're still going to use the same thing. And now back to our cover-up sheets. So back to the yellow. I'm going to start with the yellow again, and I'm going to give it a nice yellow wash. Probably won't see a lot of yellow because now it's so tiny, and now the other colors are going to cover it up. But here's my turquoise. I'm going to give it a wash with the turquoise, or like a nice deep turquoise. And I think, you know what, no matter what, I think it's going to turn out beautiful anyway. Birds are just beautiful, aren't they? Especially these friends, the feathered friends, they look so cute together. I am like in love with this set. Not to toot my own horn. Am I allowed to toot my own horn? Okay, so I've got my last layer of pink down as well. So we've now successfully done 8 layers of the stencils so far. Let's take a peek. Moment of truth. Ooh, I actually like it so far. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know. But I actually like it so far. I'm going to quickly wipe my stencil off. And I'll move on to the next one, but I'm going to wipe this one off very quickly. So I actually really like this so far. I am going to probably have to make some more rainbow birds with this. But, all right, so we're going to move on for now. And I've got, so the next one would be, we're building, as you can see, we're building the birds little by little. The bodies are like coming together. And this one is layer number 9. Once again, I just simply lined up the square. I'm going to put the tape back in place. I'm going to tape this on this side, tape up as well. And we're going to bring back our trusted buddies. so we can cover up, and we're going to go back. All right, so we've got layer number 9 right now that's lined up. So we've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We've got 5 more layers. This is a pretty detailed stencil. And like I said, I wanted to keep the detail, but not the price that goes with it. So I'm just using the same 3 colors that I had started with: sunshine, turquoise, and peony. I am not changing anything in terms of the color or the blending. I am simply using, I'm so scared I'm going to use this green with the turquoise, and now I'm going to end up with a hot muddy mess. I guess OCD is like back in play at this point, but I'm going to use the turquoise. Again, I'm going to try to go very light-handed because this is the first layer for the body. Well, the neck, I would say, not the body. We've been doing the body, but first layer for the neck. So I am very light-handedly blending. You can see I'm getting very little bit of ink. I'm going very light-handed. I tapped off excess ink. Again, the usual best practices when you ink blend. Okay, so the last layer, there's not much left here, so I'm going to leave that alone, but I'm going to go with the pink on this side. And I'm going to get some more ink on it. And I'm going to bring back my turquoise a little bit, get some more blending going, and I think I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so we're done with layer number 9. Move on to layer number 10, which is sort of the crown, if you will. So I'm going to move on to number 10. So there's number 10, and all we're going to do with this one is we're just going to do that one. So the layer number 11 will be these two bottom, the bottom portion of the body, the belly, I guess, as well as the tail, the feathers. So I'm going to line this up. Oops, it's a party now. We've got balloons, so it's a party. Okay, so I'm going to get this one and this one in place. And now I'm going to have, we don't want to color that part, just the crown for this layer. Okay, so I'm going to do another round of yellow. I'm going to go heavy-handed this time. It might look very different because I'm not going the traditional, as I said, and I can actually keep this here, but this is kind of one of the looks that you can get. This is one of the possibilities, I guess, for this stencil, right? You can do the same blue bird, I guess, layers, but in my case, like I said, I'm going very rogue and I'm doing a rainbow bird, or rainbow bird friends, I guess. So I am just going a little bit heavy-handed with the turquoise. I'm not going to go with the green because there isn't much place there to do the green. So I'm going to leave that alone. And now we're going to move on to, we're at layer number 10. We're going to do layer number 11 next. I'm going to keep this in place and move to number 11. So there's number 11. And we are only going to do actually, I thought this was the belly, but no, this is the back. This is the back portion of both the birds and then the feathers, the tail, the plume, the tail, the feathers, the plume. I don't know. You tell me. Are there any bird enthusiasts watching today? Because I have a friend who loves to take pictures of birds, and he is crazy about taking pictures of birds. He will just stand in the wilderness for like the whole day if you just let him, and he will just stand there, take pictures. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how you have the patience. I don't. We have all the patience in the world to craft, but not to just bird watch, I guess. We have our priorities, right? It's, not everybody likes the same thing, I guess. So I'm back with the same colors once again. I do want to do the tails, but I'm going to start with, in this case, I'm doing the rainbow still, but I'm going to do yellow for the back Like I'm going to get a good coverage of the yellow in the back area of the bird. And I'm going to introduce a little bit of turquoise from the bottom of this back area to the feather, to the plume, and then I will add the pink at the end. I am basically just dividing the area that I have to cover into thirds when I'm doing, because I have 3 colors to use. I'm just using I'm just eyeballing it to kind of divide it into 3 portions, and then from there, all I'm doing is I'm just kind of adding color as I go along. So as I said, you can see here that I am simply covering just sort of like just that little bit of an area with the turquoise, and then I'm bringing the turquoise down to the plume. And I'm going to do the same thing here as well. I'm going to give it a little bit of a turquoise right there, and then I am bringing turquoise down into the plume area. This one sort of got a little bit out of control, I guess. I'm going to blend it out a little bit more, although I don't think it's going to matter because we're going to go over it again with another layer. But anyway, so for now, I'm going to come back with the pink, excuse me, and I'm going to hold this one carefully now because I am getting I don't want to get the ink on the bottom of my card base. So I'm going to get some, it looks actually a lot more red than it looks like pink, but that's okay. We're good. I'm going to go over with a little bit more turquoise blending right kind of in the middle because it looks a little bit rough around the edges. There we go. That looks like a much better blend. So I completed now layer number 11. So now this is the moment of truth. Let's take a look of what we did so far. Oh my gosh, I did not expect that. I truly did not expect that, but that looks like that's just, I'm sorry, I'm tooting my own horn today. It's one of those days. But I am absolutely in love with what I can't believe it. I am in love with the bird that I just created. Okay, so layer number 12, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I've lined up the square. I am going to tape it up in place. I'm going to get this tape going on this side, and this is the bottom portion, this is the top. I just want to make sure we're all covered up so we don't get ink again where we don't want it. Okay, so back to our formula. Same, it's like rinse and repeat. I'm doing the exact same thing. Although in this case, I might bring a little bit of orange, maybe like an apricot, because I do want to show the difference. You see how this one's a little bit lighter here, and then there's a dark shade. So I want to bring an orange actually, just because I want some separation. I guess I'm just getting picky at this point. You can call me that, but I want to try. Let's try. Let's see what we get. So this is apricot, and I've got my new brush. I'm doing the same exact thing we've done so far. I am actually going to use very light hand. I'm going to go with the orange layer here, and I'm going to do a little bit of a blending here. And let's see what we got. I'm not going to move it yet, obviously. I've got the orange going here, and I think I'm going to go back with the turquoise and maybe give it a little bit of a heavy-handed blending. Okay, so I'm going to close the orange for now. That was apricot, and I'm going to bring back the turquoise again. And let's get the blending going here. There's the turquoise. There's the turquoise again. Okay. And we're going to do the pink at the bottom. So this is layer number 12, and the only one left is next, which is the last one, the layer number 13. And we are all done with this card, with this, actually not card, the ink blending, the stencil. Okay, so that is layer number 12. I don't know, moment of truth. Moment of truth. Let me get this one off. 1, 2. Wow. Ta-da! I am absolutely loving this. Love, 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 love. Okay, so now the last layer, like kind of the eyes and the beak, I guess. I'm gonna layer up. Again, I'm gonna go to number 13. Make sure it is flush. And I am going to tape this in place. I guess for this one, you can bring out your black if you have one. I actually do have black, so let me bring out the black. And or you could have, you could take a pen, a marker, a Sharpie. I don't know, maybe I'll try that for the eyes. So I have a Pitt brush marker here, artist pen, black, Faber-Castell. I'm actually gonna give it a try. Let's see what we get if I do black through the That's interesting. I think it looks good actually. I think it does look good. So I got my Faber-Castell pen out. I got my eyes marked. And again, for the beak, you could do the same thing, or you could go with a different kind of a marker. You could, I don't know. Should I try a Sharpie? What do you guys think? Should I try the Sharpie? Or should I try the brush marker again? Let me see. Yes, this bird, my inspiration, has a black nose or a beak, I guess. So let me try if this pen will let me go mark it up. This one looks like it dried up. So let me do what I should have done. I'm silly, I know. And just use the black for detailed black. There's the detailed black. So I have my detailed black. I should have done this in the first place. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Well, anyway, I tried. So I got my eye and the beak, and this should be it, guys. This should be it. All right, let's take a look. There's my black. I'm gonna wipe it off really quick. All right, again, it's the moments of this truths. Oh my God, I'm in love. I absolutely love this. I love the birds, the light, the rainbow birds. I might actually make the leaves a little bit darker so these can stand out. Maybe I will go over them with the mint-ish. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet, but I'm gonna finish up the card and I will be back. Here's my finished rainbow bird ink blending. I might actually make this a little bit more teal. I'll come back with what I made, okay? I'll come back and share the finishing touches, what I did, and I'll show you guys. Okay, so I finally was able to finish it off. I've never tried black cardstock before, but I wanted to give it a nice background that wasn't too much because I've got a lot going on here with the rainbow birds. So I wanted to keep it simple, and I struggled with the sentiment as well. I was not sure what kind of sentiment I should use, whether I should use one or not. And I'm still not quite sure if this is the right sentiment and the colors and all of that. But I think it looks okay for now. I might, like I said, it's hard to know when to stop, right? But for now, I think I am okay with the way it looks. I'm going to call it a day. And I hope this was helpful. I hope the tutorial helped. I hope that the stencils make sense, the layering works. And like I said, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the new style, if this is helpful, if you like all the different layers that we've made and so on. Also, I hope you're hopping along. I hope you're along, entering in the raffle to win prizes. And I'll see you soon. Bye.